A quiet man. My name is Tom. I fix old things. I work all week. I clean my hands. I live alone. I cook my meals. I read at night. I sleep by 11. My room is small. The walls are thin. The light is weak. The floor is cold. But I feel fine. I don't complain. I keep things calm. I do my best. I grew up poor, with just my mom. She worked long shifts. She never stopped. She said one line again and again: be kind, be strong, stay out of trouble. So I stayed quiet. I walked alone. I helped my friends. I kept my name. I learned to fix, to clean, to paint, to use my hands, to make things last. I got a job in one old place. I fixed the pipes. I cleaned the floors. The people there, they barely talk. They nod at me, then walk away. That's how it is. When you are poor, when you are dark, when you are quiet. They see your face. They guess your life. They don't ask why. They don't ask how. That winter day, the sky was gray. The wind was sharp. The snow was deep. I got a call at 9:10. Go fix the heat in Unit 8. I wore my coat. I grabbed my tools. I took the keys and walked outside. I climbed the stairs. I knocked one time. The man inside said, "Come, it's cold." He looked upset. His voice was flat. He pointed in and walked away. I said, "Okay." I found the leak. The valve was loose. The pipe was old. I worked for hours, with careful hands. I fixed the pipe. I dried the floor. I left the room. I locked the door. I wiped my boots and took the stairs. There was no sound, no one around, just quiet halls and falling snow. I walked back home. I made some tea. I read a book. I fell asleep. The night was calm until I heard loud knocks at 2. They shook the door. I jumped in fear. I asked, "Who's there?" They shouted loud, "It's from the force!" I opened slow. They came inside. They showed no smiles. They said, "Let's go." They took my coat. They took my bag. They asked no questions. They said, "Just come." I sat with them inside one car. They made no sound. They looked ahead. I asked, "What's wrong?" They did not say. They drove downtown to one dark place. They sat me down. The lights were bright. The room was cold. The walls were bare. They said one name. I knew it well. The man I saw from Unit 5. They said he died with one sharp wound. He bled alone inside his bed. They said no prints, just one small clue. A boot mark found upon the floor. I looked at them. I shook my head. I said, "I left." I heard no sound. They looked at me. They wrote things down. They didn't smile. They looked unsure. They asked, "Did you take anything?" I said, "No, sir. I only fixed." They said, "You were the only one who came that day, and now he's dead." I said again, "I fixed the pipe. I dried the floor. I locked the door." They stared at me. They did not blink. They whispered low, then left the room. I sat alone. My hands were cold. My thoughts were loud. My chest was tight. I felt the fear inside my bones. I knew this path was not so fair. They came again with photos now. They showed me knives. They showed me shoes. They asked, "Is this the one you wear?" I said, "No, sir. Mine don't look sharp." They said, "It fits. The mark we saw, your boot is old. It matches close." I said, "That floor was wet that day. I may have slipped and left that print." They looked again. They left once more. I stayed alone for one more hour. I closed my eyes. I saw his face. I saw the room, the pipe, the tools. I felt so small in that big place. I knew deep down I was not safe. They had no proof. They had no facts. Just one weak link. Just one poor man. They moved me fast. They took my things. They said few words. They looked away. They told me sit. They brought some forms. They made me wait for many hours. They asked again, the same old stuff, the shoes I wore, the time I left. I said the same again, and clear. I fixed the pipe. I locked the door. They showed a clock with times and steps. They said, "Explain this empty gap." I said, "I walked. It snowed outside. I took it slow. I felt the cold." They looked at me like I was fake, like poor means bad, like calm means guilt. I felt their eyes deep in my soul. They wanted fast, a name to blame. A man walked in. He wore a tie. He said, "I'm here to help you now." He sat with me. He looked quite kind. He asked my name. He asked my age. He said, "Stay calm. Just tell your truth. Don't add too much. Don't try too hard." I nodded once. I told it all from start to end, just like before. He wrote things down. He read my face. He asked again about my boots. I said, "They're old. I wear them most. They're cheap and torn. They leak in snow." He stood and said, "This case is thin. No blood, no prints, just poor man pain." He left the room. He closed the door. I stayed alone with heavy thoughts. The hours passed. The sky grew dark. The wind grew loud. The night was long. They gave me food. It tasted old. They gave me tea. I drank it all. They brought me back to that same chair, they said. "More questions. Not done yet." I said, "Okay." I took a breath. I knew my part. I said the truth. They asked again about the room, about the tools, about the noise. I said, "It's true." He looked upset, but said no word and left me there. They looked confused. They called one guy. He whispered low, then looked at me. He said, "You sure?" He said, "No more." I said, "That's it. Not one more word." He said, "Strange case. The lock was fine, no signs of fight, just silent blood." I asked again, "Why am I here?" He did not speak. He left too soon. The man came back, the one in tie. He looked more tired. He took his seat. He said, "Listen, they want to move. They feel you fit the space too well." I said, "But sir, I did not harm. I fixed one pipe. I left that room." He said, "I know I see your eyes. I read your words. I feel your truth. But truth is weak, without real proof. And you were there, the only one." He sighed real deep. He rubbed his head. He said, "This case, it breaks me too." He stood again. He walked around. He said, "The world is not so fair." Sometimes they need to point a hand, to feel some peace, to close the door. I felt my breath grow sharp and short. I knew the sound of quiet blame. He said, "Stay strong. Don't lose your way. We still can fight, but not today." They took me then to one small cell. The walls were cold. The light was low. I sat and stared. I heard my thoughts. I saw my mom. I saw our home. I saw her hands, her working shoes, her tired smile, her kind old face. I felt a tear roll down my cheek. I closed my eyes. I held my knees. I stayed for days. They brought me food. They asked some things. They kept me close. They said, "The case is still not done. We need more time. We need to think." I heard no news. I got no call. I missed the sun. I missed my tools. I thought of work, the floors to mop, the things to fix, the peace I lost. A week went by. They brought a man, he said. "You're free at least for now." He gave my coat. He gave my boots. He said, "Don't talk. Just walk back home." I left that place. I walked alone. The wind was hard. The night was cold. But I was free. For now, at least. Though not inside. Not in my mind. I walked back home. My mind was slow. The streets felt new. The lights looked pale. The air was sharp. The snow was hard. My feet were numb. My hands were cold. I saw my door. I held the key. I stopped a while, then stepped inside. My room was dark. The chair was moved. My tea was there, but no more warm. I dropped my coat. I sat and stared. I felt the floor. I touched my bed. It all looked small, like not my place, like not my world, like not my time. I closed my eyes. I took a breath. I felt the weight behind my back. I heard no sound, no car outside, no voices loud, just quiet fear. I made some toast. It tasted dry. I drank cold milk. I sat in dark. I checked my phone. No missed calls there, no new alerts, just one old text. It said, "Stay strong," from my old friend. He wrote it once, he sent no more. I smiled a bit, then dropped the phone. I watched the wall for many hours. Next morning came. I dressed up slow. I left my home. I walked to work. The boss looked weird. He said no word. He passed me fast. He shook his head. I found my tools. They looked untouched, just like before, just like the week. But people stared. They whispered low. They kept some space. They watched my steps. I fixed the sink. I cleaned the walls. I did my job, just like before. But I could feel a wall so big between my hands and their cold eyes. At lunch I sat. I ate alone. The bench was cold. The soup was thin. One man walked close, then turned away. He left his tray. He left the room. The air grew thick. My thoughts grew loud. My chest felt tight. My legs felt weak. I stood again. I grabbed my mop. I kept my pace. I cleaned the floor. Each step I took was heavy now, like shame had weight, like looks could burn. I said no word. I smiled once, but no one smiled. No one came near. That night at home, I made my tea. I read old notes from years before. They said small things like goals and dreams, like fix 10 pipes and save each week. One note was torn, but still it read, "Be kind and calm no matter what." I held that note. I felt its power. It helped me stand. It helped me breathe. Next day was slow. The sky was gray. My tools were wet. The floor was damp. A kid walked by. He said, "You back?" I smiled and said, "I never left." He looked unsure, then gave a nod. He dropped his ball. He walked away. I picked it up. I gave it back. He said, "Thanks, man," then ran and laughed. That small moment, it gave me peace, like not all lost, like some still see. I stayed that day. I worked real hard. I fixed 10 things. I checked them twice. I cleaned the hall. I helped an old. She said, "You're kind." I said, "Just work." She held my arm. She smiled warm. She said, "They're wrong. I know you good." Her words were small, but felt like gold. They broke the wall. They cut the cold. That night I slept with quiet heart. I closed my eyes. I dreamed again. I dreamed of hands, not cold but kind, of people real who stand not run. I dreamed of days where truth was loud, where poor meant strong, not just alone. I woke with hope. I brewed fresh tea. I stepped outside. I faced the world. My name was clean, at least inside. I knew my truth. I knew my path. I walked with pride, not high but firm. I felt the sun. I heard the birds. I said one line that helped me heal. You can be hurt and still be whole. The sun was low. The wind was soft. The street was calm. The world was slow. I tied my shoes. I wore my coat. I locked the door. I took the path. I walked past shops. I passed the park. I heard one bird. I watched the trees. The city moved in quiet steps like all had changed but stayed the same. I saw the school where kids once played. I saw the bench where I would sit. I saw the walls. They looked so gray, like hands had aged from cleaning time. A dog ran by. A man called out. I waved hello. He stared, then left. I felt that look, like ice, not hate, like doubt, not fire, like silent blame. I reached the store. I bought some bread. I said good day. She gave no smile. She looked away. She rang the price. She took my cash, then looked around. I said goodbye. She did not speak. She closed the till. She fixed her hair. I left that place with loaf and thought, with quiet fear and quiet hope. I passed the church. The doors were wide. I stepped inside. I heard no sound. The lights were low. The floor was clean.